How's it going, everyone? My name is True Underdog, and it looks like two of the strongest characters online have gotten even stronger. Both Jade and Geras received some powerful buffs in the recent update, so without any further ado, let's discuss all of their changes step by step. So for starters, Pulse Strike has 5 more frames of block stun and increased pushback, so it's just that much tougher to punish if you space it properly. If you get the opponent to block this move from max range, chances are they can't punish it. However, this change is a bit of a double-edged sword because more pushback also means you gotta be a bit closer if you want to land this overhead low mix-up. Because normally it's like, okay, is the overhead coming? You better block high. What's that? You're blocking high? Well, here comes the low. And that is the mix-up still, but if you space it from further away, then that low has no way of reaching, and the increased pushback means it's even tougher to land from closer. So while it is much tougher to punish Pulse Strike on block, it's also a bit tougher to land that mix-up unless you're right in the opponent's face. And next up we have Wiggle Stick. This move has 5 more frames of block stun and more pushback on block as well, with 5 more recovery frames on block, so I'm wondering, does that make it tougher to punish? That is some pretty good pushback, so once again, if you space this correctly, it's going to be a bit tougher for the opponent to punish, especially if they just block like that last hit. That last hit is so annoying for me when I'm fighting Jade because it sticks out so much further than the rest, and look at that, only minus 13. Yeah, very few characters can punish this outside of maybe Jade herself, and even then, even though this Shadow Kick is 12 frames on startup, she still has to travel, so I don't think it'll actually reach you in 12 frames, so if spaced correctly, back 2 might be completely safe on block. Hooray, I'm super excited about that. I definitely don't love punishing this move all the time. Now of course, a lot of people always say, well, it's a high attack, just duck it, to which I have to say, really? This overhead is a combo starter with no meter. You want me to duck from that close? Okay, I'll just eat this overhead all the time online. But all my salty feelings aside, this is actually a really good buff for Jade because that last hit has so much more pushback on block, so if spaced correctly, it's going to be very tough to punish. And I believe somebody mentioned that the increased block stun also means you can no longer jump this low mix-up. Yeah, you can. If you want to jump forward or jump away or jump straight up, you can't avoid this low. Now to be fair, I don't consider that a mix-up because Jade has no overheads there. But even so, if you played Jade and the opponent always tried to jump that low follow-up, rejoice because they no longer have that option. They have to block it. And since we're in variation 3, that's 100% safe on block at only minus 4. And if you're a fan of Jade's third variation, then good news because Bending Time now does more damage, 70 instead of 50. And one nice change that is universal for Jade is that her straight kick now has a different reaction from the opponent on hit, and also their hurt box is different on hit as well, so that should make it a lot easier to combo with, especially on airborne opponents. So for example, if you're in variation 3, and you go for this, it's now a lot more consistent. Before, it was actually really easy to mistime this thing, and now it's pretty darn hard to actually mistime it. If you do it late, you get all the hits. If you do it pretty early, you still get all the hits, so it's much better on airborne opponents. Awesome stuff. So much easier to combo in this variation now. And this next change has me both excited and scared. So Ip Girl now has different gravity on hit, and what that means is just much better combos, especially in variation 1, which has one of the most consistent and damaging combos off this thing. As you can see, over 30% for just 1 bar, and keep in mind this is the zoning variation, the one that has the crazy air projectiles, the annoying low from full screen, she can go purple, all that good stuff. So this variation that's already the most godlike at zoning also has some of the best combos, at least from mid-screen. And even though you don't have the upglaive in the other 2 variations, you can still get the same or more damage. The timing's just a bit trickier. But then if you want a more simple combo, you can always do stuff like this, and you're still getting some very easy 30%. So that was just dash forward 2, back 2, and then nitro kick. Still very, very easy stuff. But then if you have the opponent cornered, things just get a bit ridiculous. Look at these combos. Okay, so that was 35% for 1 bar, and it's not tough to do. A bit of practice and you'll have it down in no time. And this combo is universal, by the way. You can do this in all 3 variations. And in fact, in variation 2, Nitro Kick does not switch sides, so if you want to, you can just spend 2 bars to get a bit more damage. And once again, I have to stress, these combos are not difficult. And look at that, 38% for 2 bars, which you might argue is not a ton of damage for the cost of 2 bars, but keep in mind, Jade does damage without needing meter. So you might as well just spend the 2 bars anyway. You're still getting good damage from both mid-screen and the corner with Jade, regardless of whether or not you have meter. And sadly, once again, variation 1 takes the cake because in the corner, she can do jumping kick combos. Now, thankfully, the damage isn't that much higher, and I don't think these combos are optimal, but at the same time, they're very easy to do consistently, and the damage is still pretty high. So even though these combos might not do max damage, I do recommend these combos for online because they're so easy to do. And the combo buffs do not stop there, so if you land the baited crushing blow, you now recover recover 7 frames faster, which not only makes the old combos easier, but also opens up some new combos as well. So a combo that I always saw at tournaments was this one right here. Up glaive, down 4, nitro kick, and the damage is pretty much the same as Ip Girl, but keep in mind it starts off with a sneaky low, so it's pretty much a 50-50, and either way you're getting around 32%. And once again, the combos only get better in the corner, they're more flashy, and they do more damage. And don't get me wrong, I was always saying that a zoner should have more combos, that way you have more reason to go in and not run away. But part of me also kinda wishes they nerfed the zoning just to make it a bit more fair. And in case you're thinking, oh, I'll just break away, be careful, because nitro kick is the move that breaks armor, and you can still amplify it afterwards. And in fact, even if the opponent breaks away as early as possible, you can sneak in a standing 4 before doing the nitro kick, so like this, and that's always guaranteed on an airborne opponent, even if they break away immediately. And keep in mind, a human player never does that, they're always a little bit late, so it's just that much more guaranteed. So in other words, if you want to break away from Jade, here's what it looks like. Boom, almost 30%, and scarier still, this nitro kick crushing blows whenever it beats armor. So whether you go for a desperate fatal blow or even a breakaway, the Jade player is getting even more damage on you if they guess correctly. So for example, if you break away after this crushing blow, it ain't worth it, buddy. It ain't worth it. Spin the bar 43% for just 1 bar of meter. That's so scary. And this is true after an uppercut too. They have to dash forward, but they can still do it. Even if you break away as soon as possible, all that damage is guaranteed. As you can see, that's almost 50%, so it's very scary. If you're playing Jade and the opponent keeps going for breakaways, you're gonna get a lot more damage. And that's about it for the Jade changes, and pretty much every single one was a buff. She now has much better combos, she has better hit reactions, all that fun stuff. And she even got some damage buffs, and honestly, her armor break is one of the best in the game. It may only crushing blow once and not relaunch a combo, but the fact that it's so fast and covers such a far distance means you can catch the opponent from pretty much anywhere if they want to escape your combo. So now your character is just as deadly up close as she is from far away, especially online where it's much tougher to react to that overhead. And next up we have Geras. Now there's a running joke about Geras online, that basically every time the developers change him, he ends up getting better in some way or another. In fact, in the past, even when they tried to nerf Geras, they unintentionally made him better in a lot of cases. So in other words, this guy may lose all the time in story mode, but when it comes to online play and just competitive play in general, he's still a Chad. So what made Geras better this time? Well, his sand trap is now his armor breaking move. So if you break away or go for fatal blow, he can just combo into this and get some really good damage. And that's a big deal in certain variations because he has to whiff this move twice just to load it, but now not anymore. If you break away, he just gets this crushing blow for free. And part of me does think this was meant to actually be a bad thing because this move has such a low hitbox. It attacks so low to the ground that you'd have to time it. So in theory, it should have been a weaker armor breaking move. However, the opposite happened. Once again, just like Jade, if your timing is fast enough, you can dash forward and do a standing 4 into the sand trap and just get guaranteed damage. And that guaranteed damage can get pretty crazy. We're talking 50% in some cases. So put simply, not only is Geras the combo king, but if you try to escape his combos, he gets an even bigger combo on you. Now to be fair, things could be worse. They could have made it the choke slam, and they could have had it to where when he catches you, he just gets to relaunch you again like Shao Kahn, Scorpion, and those other characters. And that honestly would have been a lot worse. Don't get me wrong, it's still a really, really good armor breaking move, but at least he only gets that crushing blow once a match, instead of just comboing you over and over again like Shao Kahn, my boy. Shout out to Shao Kahn. Now thankfully this next change is a nerf, though at the same time it should have already worked like this to begin with, so it's actually just making things behave normally. So now if Geras does reverse time and you punish him on recovery, you will get your crushing blow punish. So before, the most you got was a combo. If you punished him for doing this move like any other move, you didn't actually get your punish crushing blow. And thankfully now you finally do, and that's a good thing because this move is pretty OP. For anyone who's not familiar with this move, it allows Geras to escape combos while grounded, and it also undoes some of the damage he took recently as well. So it was basically just one more combo breaker, and it did still cost 2 defensive bars, but he could do it while standing and undo some damage, so a very strong move. And last but not least, released, his down 3 was also nerfed, and I don't think I agree with this change. So there are certain characters whose down 3 is not a low attack, which if you ask me is already a pretty big disadvantage since it can't even catch the opponent's stand blocking, unlike a lot of other characters who have low hitting down 3s. However, even though certain characters like Geras and Frost have down 3s that don't hit low, you can still beat them with a low parry now or a standing parry. Either or will do, and that seems a bit unfair to me. It already has the disadvantage of not being a low, and then on top of that it still gets parried as if it was a low, so it doesn't get the mix up, but it still has all the disadvantages that other down 3s have. Now I do understand it makes the game feel a bit more consistent because all the down 3s can be standing parried and low parried, but I kind of preferred the matchup. How you had to know if their down 3 was a low or not, because once again, to me a mid is a bit weaker, and now they're even weaker because they still lose to low parries despite not being a low. At any rate, everyone, that about does it for Jade and Geras' buffs. Please let me know your thoughts on these changes in the comments down below, and then while you're down there, please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. It really does help my channel out a ton. And then why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell, that way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.